Welcome back to this series of video about YubiKey. Now I go deeper into the SSH part of the YubiKey function, showing you what is resident key and how differ from the standard SSH key you created earlier in the previous videos. Before moving on, I want to show you something. Just open a terminal with elevated prompt as an administrator and use eKeyMan.exe FIDO credential list. And it is asking me a PIN, and it shows me that the only FIDO2 credentials that are into the key are login in Microsoft. This is my first example, securing a Microsoft account. So there is nothing else. Okay, now I've come back to a standard terminal where I'm generating a key into my YubiKey with a new option that is -o resident. I also use the application SSH demo to help me identify this key. And I'm asking to save into the SSH folder and the key should be called resident. Now I'm press enter and let you see the difference. First of all, I don't know exactly why, but it is telling me that the resident key scope to SSH demo with user ID null already exists. It is not really true. And I don't know if it's a bug in the SSH keygen of Windows, because, you know, SSH in Windows is something that is pretty much recent as a full implementation. But you just ignore, I say override key in token, because as you saw before, I have no key inside my FIDO2 part except the Microsoft account. So I press OK. It is the very same as you saw in the previous video. You put the pin, you type the pin, you touch the key. As usual, I don't need the passphrase because the private key file is only a reference to the key that is stored inside my YubiKey, and everything is done. I've created another key. Now I've copied the public part into the authorized key of my remote Linux server as SSCU4, and I modify my config file just to use the new key into it that I've generated. It's resident, and now I can go to my, not this, but I can go here, and you can use an SSH, type the pin, you're in, and so everything seems as the previous example. There seems to be no difference from resident and non-resident keys, but there is one big important difference, and I show you immediately. Now come back to the terminal where you are an administrator with an elevated credential, and use the eKeyMan.exe to show again the credential list on the FIDO2 part. As usual, you need to type the pin, and here you are. You have a key. This time with the option -o resident, the key is actually stored inside your YubiKey. Now, let's suppose you are in a new system. So I list the files that are contained into your .ssh folder. And as you can see, I have nothing. I've cleared all my keys. So actually, if I'm simply go to SSH 10.0.0.0.217, it asks me the identity of the server, because it is the first time that I'm connecting to the server, and it asks me the password because it does not know anything about that server. So I have no key. Now here is the difference between resident and non-resident key. You need to go with an elevated command prompt that is important. This is my SSH.ssh folder. So I have nothing except the GNU host because I've tried to log into the remote server. And remember, you need to be in an elevated command prompt. You can do SSH keygen, but instead of specifying anything, you just use the capital key option and you press, and it asks me the pin, and I type the key. I choose no passphrase. And as you can see, it extracted the key, the private part and the public part directly from the hardware of my key into my local folder. Now, if you come back to non-admin terminal, you can use the usual SSH command, and it asks you for a password, so you can use the I option to use the SSH key, and you can use your private key. So I touch the pin, I enter the pin, I touch my key, and I'm in. So actually, the big difference between a resident and a non-resident key is that the resident key is actually stored inside your key and can be extracted with the -key option of SSH keygen. So you only need to have your YubiKey with you, and if you're going to a new system and you need to access your servers, you can extract the key from your physical key and then use to log in to access SSH in another system. So it is another option. It is really interesting, and it's really convenient if you constantly switch computer or you constantly use new computers. So you can only have your YubiKey with you, and inside the YubiKey you also have the private key file, the part of the file that references the key that is inside the YubiKey. As you can see, I've just dumped the content of the old demo key. The first key I've created is a standard S key, not resident, and this is the resident key. So actually, the fact that the key is resident, it's not important. The only thing that is important is being resident. The key is actually stored in your physical key and can be extracted. While if you have a non-resident key, an attacker getting your key, he needs the file with the reference to the key. But this is not a problem, in my opinion, because to extract key from your YubiKey with the resident option, you need to have the pin. So as usual, a pin is really, really secure, because after 8 times the pin is entered incorrectly, the key is reset automatically. So an attacker getting your key, it's true that the SSH key is inside your YubiKey, but yeah, you know, there's no way to extract unless he knows the pin. As a final touch, as usual, you can also delete a key. So let's suppose you generated, like me, I've generated a resident key and I want to delete the key. So I can simply use the ikeymnxc FIDO credential delete command. And if you specify the command like this, it asks me to specify a query. The query is just something that helps me to identify the key, so I can use part of the information. So if I use demo, it is asking me the pin, and it is, oh, you have multiple matches, so you can do ikeymn FIDO credential list. You have the key, so you can copy part of the key, okay? So you can delete and you can use part of the key. Usually it's enough, and I'm entering the pin. Oh, sorry, wrong pin. I'm entering the pin, and it asks me confirmation. Do you really want to delete the credential? I say yes, and the key is deleted. If you issue the credential list, you know, the key is not there anymore. Now, if you open an elevated command prompt and you try to issue the SSH keygen xc -K to extract resident key, you enter the pin, I'm touching the key, and it tells me that there are no SSH key to download. So this is a verification that I've indeed deleted my keys. Now, if I'm trying to use an already downloaded key, a key that I've already downloaded from the resident part of my key, that's the key I have before, I type the pin, and okay, I don't need to touch because it told me that this security key does not look familiar. And that's because when I reset resident key from my YubiKey, actually, it is not possible to access anymore with that key because the key was deleted. And as you can see, Windows, it's trying to log in again, and it's not possible. So another difference from non-resident and the resident key is once you delete the resident key from your YubiKey, it's gone and you cannot use it anymore. Just to verify that deleting a resident key does not interfere with existing key. I'm trying to log into my system with the first key I've created in the first video, and that's the key that now requires the PIN. I'm touching the key, and here I go. So I've deleted the resident key, but all my previous SSH key created are not affected. So they can still be used to log it in. So that's the main difference between resident and non-resident. If you want my opinion, I don't like that much resident key. I never use it. I just create regular YubiKey related SSH key with the SK option as I show you in the first two videos, and then I'm saving the private part of the key in some password manager, just that if I really need to use the key in a computer where I have no previous logged in, I can simply use my password manager and extract the key from the password manager. I don't need to extract the key from my physical security key. Also, in Windows, you need to be logged in as administrator to extract the key, and this is not a super good thing. This thing may change in the future because probably with the newest release of SSH on Windows, some of this problem can be overcome. But actually, if you need to extract the key, you need to be an administrator because it's the part that you also use with the eKeyman.exe software. You need to be an administrator in order to interact with that level with low level with the key. And that concludes this third video about SSH with YubiKey. I hope you liked the video, and I'm waiting you in the next one.